Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to Spreck and Disc Golf, the most reliable Pro Tour focused podcast. As always, I'm your host Zachary Coleman, and we have a great episode on hand for you guys today. We are going to be recapping the DDO as well as previewing the Des Moines Challenge. Des Moines Challenge, sorry. So starting right off, we're going to jump into DDO. And it was an exciting, unique event. As always, Emporia did not disappoint. A little less wind this year. Actually, very, very calm, and the course played like it. And it was just a fantastic event all around. On the MPO side, we had Parker Welk taking it down with Calvin Heimberg, Evan Smith, Matty O, and Alden Harris finishing out that podium. Evan, Matty O, and Alden all tied for third. And then on the FPO side, we had Haley King winning it in a playoff, and Holland Hanley and Ella Hansen following up the 2-3 on the podium. So the kind of elephant in the room here is Parker Welk. He is the lowest rated Pro Tour winner, at least on the Elite Series kind of pro, like the Elite Pro, the full Pro Tour stops, not silvers. But on the full Pro Tour stops, he is the lowest rated winner. I believe he was 10-10. The previous lowest rated winner, I was pretty sure it's Colton Montgomery. I'll have to double check that, but I believe Statmando put that out. So he kind of came out of nowhere. He's never had a top 15 finish on the tour before, and then he comes out in dominant, well, not in dominant fashion, but he won this event. There are other events, OTB comes to mind, where Emerson won, and it didn't really feel like he won. It felt like other guys lost. Guys like Aaron Gossage really, really struggled down the stretch. Isaac Robinson was too far back. Calvin Heimberg had an off weekend. It feels like other guys lost instead of them winning. This weekend, it felt like Parker Welk won. I mean, he was dominating, shredding the course, really just showing he has an all-around fantastic game. I kind of saw him first play and expected him to be really sidearm heavy, which he was, but he didn't have that kind of lackluster backhand that we've seen from a lot of guys who do that, have that sidearm dominance. He's super well-rounded, killer on the putting green. Super long forehand, probably one of the longest I've ever seen. And he burst onto the scene, and he didn't really shy away from the moment. We've seen other guys, Corey Ellis, Aaron Gossage, kind of shy away from getting that win. It used to be Eagle, it used to be Calvin. Those guys would really struggle in those pressure moments. While Parker Welk, in his first ever opportunity on the Pro Tour, really took it and looked super calm doing it. Birdied the 17th on which is one of the harder holes on the course. You really have to be in position off the tee, and even then it's still a long shot away. So he looked super impressive. I'm excited to see what he has in store for us. Will this be a one and done situation, kind of similar to Colton, where we don't really see him that much after that? Or will it be, is this his kind of breakout party, and is he going to be a little bit more of a kind of presence on tour after this? I'm looking forward to seeing. So Calvin Heimberg, 6th podium of the Elite Series season. More than the next most by 3, so the next person has 3 podiums. He has 6. 14th really killed him. Missed his gap by about a quarter inch, and it kicked him so far OB. And then a little nervy on the putt. Definitely should have gotten up and down for par. But Parker Welk, shout out to him for getting that eagle on hole 14. You can say a lot of things. Calvin threw this one away, blah, 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 blah. But he really did force Parker to come and take it from him, and Parker did that. So I think if you're Calvin, you're frustrated, but I don't think it's the end of the world for you. A guy I want to talk about is Evan Smith. We saw him last year in the final round at Des Moines, really make a push, and he's actually quietly crept up in the ratings. He's now 1030 rated, and he doesn't play like a full tour, but I think once he does, I think he could legit be someone we have to worry about. We've seen him a little bit more this year, kind of in our vicinity. Seen him on coverage a little bit, not on lead card, but just kind of on cards around, shooting some good golf. And I think he's a really, really, really solid player. I believe he was with Clash. He might still be. But we need to kind of look out for him because he's moving up the ratings. He's, clearly extremely talented. And if or when he starts to do a full tour, he could be someone that could really push for a win. Also in third place with Matthew Oram, the constant podium with no wins. Not shocking there. Looked like you'd have a good chance going into the final day, but just couldn't really put it together. You were watching him play, and it felt the entire weekend, it felt like he was playing better than his score was reflecting. Just a couple of really dumb mistakes left him. He was giving himself a lot of work on the putting green to start. He was not giving himself tap-ins, and just not really able to put it together. So Alden Harris had a 2-stroke lead at one point during the final round, was not able to keep it, ended up in third place with a birdie on the 18th and Matty O missing a putt. Really bummer that Alden kind of blew that one up. Like, I understand not winning with a 2-stroke lead happens, but not winning and then barely scraping into the podium after a guy misses a putt, a little bit of a bummer when you only have, 11 holes left, 12 holes left, something like that. So if you're Alden, you got to kind of clean that up, and you have to be in contention going into those final few holes if at one point you have a 2-stroke lead. So on the FPO side, Haley King with a playoff win. I was watching her first round, and it looked like she was about to shoot, 1,000 under par, and then she kind of disappeared. She was, I want to say she was like 8 down through 12 or something like that, or maybe 7 down through 9, something like that. She was having a really good round, blew up a little bit. I thought that would be the end of her. We have not known her to be a particularly mentally strong player, maybe a little bit young still. But she was able to fight back from that and keep herself in it. Ended up winning in a playoff on the island hole. She also did a great job putting it on the island at the end of round 3 to put the pressure on Holland. This is another kind of opportunity for Holland to win. She's kind of starting to remind me of Aaron Gossage, remind me of Corey Ellis, remind me of Matty O, and not really able to close out that event. We're still waiting for it. And this next person, Ella, is another person who we're still waiting for her to close out an event. We're still waiting for her to show that she's that kind of elite level player. And honestly, that was kind of the battle. These top 3 players, these are players that have all had a little bit of trouble, closing out events. And Haley King is the most seasoned. She does have previous wins. She actually has a major win as well. So no surprise to me that she's the one that came out on top there. So I think Haley King, versus Kristen, obviously the less experienced winner there, but Haley King against Holland Hanley and Ella Hansen clearly has kind of the most experience in that area. So it doesn't shock me that she won that playoff, but I am a little bit bummed for Holland and Ella. I do want to talk about a shot by Holland, which was parking the 18th for eagle to push the playoff and then losing the playoff. You gotta capitalize there. It's like, man, you do all that work to get into the playoff, and then you can't capitalize on a much easier shot onto that 18th or the 16th green. But the pressure building, no shot is easy, is it? All right, moving on to the Des Moines Challenge at Pickard Park. We have our lead cards already set. We got Brody Smith, Ezra Aderhold, Simon Lizotte, and Gannon Burr. I guess a feature card. And then we got on the FPO side, Missy Gannon, Kristen Tatar, Paige Pierce, and Juliana Korver. A lot of world championships on that FPO card. A lot of majors there. Missy Gannon, also a great player, winner on tour. So I think this is one of the better feature cards we're ever going to see in the FPO side. Really looking forward to that one. On MPO, we finally have it. We have Brody and Ezra on a lead card together. I'm super excited just to see how they kind of interact with each other, if they interact with each other. What will their mentality be? Are they going to be chatting with each other at all? But it will be fun to watch them both on lead card attack this course. I think this course sets up better for Brody's game than Ezra's game, just because there is a little bit more finesse touch involved, and I think Brody's slightly better at that than Ezra is. Then, of course, we have last year's winner, Simon Lizotte, and, Mr. Gannon Burr, who's always up there. So I love those feature cards. I think they did a great job with them, and I'm excited to watch it play out. Looking at the course, I want to shout out, I said it last year, but this is one of my favorite courses on tour. and they have made it even better. I think it's pristine. Brody mentioned this, but they lengthen the grass in the rough so you can clearly see where the OB is. It looks very natural. The course just plays really smoothly. The shots look understandable of kind of where you're going. All the gripes that I kind of have with DDO are sort of fixed over at Pickard Park, where you can kind of tell where the OB is and it makes sense where you're going, and it's very groomed and you're just kind of in nature. It's a very beautiful course. They've done a great job with it, taking feedback from the players, it looks like, and making slight adjustments to holes that are too easy or too difficult. Placement golf on par fours where you're not just bombing off the tee. It's just they've done a great job maintaining this course and keeping it tour level. And I think Pickard Park is really one of the people that are or one of the courses that's pushing the standard for the Pro Tour course, because it's newer to the tour, right? But that doesn't mean it's any less valuable to the tour now, because I think this is an event where we can continue. I could see a major, like if we took Worlds to Pickard Park, I would not be upset. So I really do like this course. I love what they're doing with it, and I hope they keep it up, because it has just been it's been a pleasure to watch it on coverage. So I'm super excited for this weekend. All right, I'm done with my love letter to Pickard Park. You guys can unmute now. But it kind of reminds me of Jonesboro, but with a little bit more of the woods incorporated. Jonesboro is like woods adjacent, right? Like there's trees and stuff around, but you're not really playing through them. This course makes you play around and through some tree shots. I think they do a good job at kind of mixing it up. And they do a great job at using elevation. I mean, it is just a fantastic kind of course design there, with how they use the hills and the putting baskets on hillsides, stuff like that, making shots that go downhill and uphill and using that kind of to your advantage. I think they do a great job. Okay, so now my love letter is done to the course. No, I'm pumped for this weekend. I was kind of looking at stats that were important for last year. What's going to play well this weekend? Is it putting? Is it driving? And as I continue to be impressed by this course, it really is just one of the most well-rounded courses on tour. Fairway hits are important, but equally as important is putting and like all of it really just kind of melded together as a really kind of beautiful statistical setup. Like nothing was way more important than anything else. So you just got to come out there with a well-rounded game and play well. Makes sense why Simon won last year. Makes sense why guys like Kevin Jones, Matty O, Kyle Klein, Joel Freeman were up top. Those are all guys who have really, really nicely rounded games. And I'm looking forward to see them all attack it again this year. I don't think there's really one style this course plays to. So I think it's kind of one of the more fair courses on tour. Guys that are putting well, hitting the fairways, that plays at every course, that plays here. There's going to be nothing crazy. That's gonna score well here. So, look for close to 30 under to be the winner. Wouldn't shock me. Last year, Simon and Robert Burridge kind of ran away. Next guys were down at near 20 under, so hopefully we can get a little bit more parity. Last year was also a little bit strange as we had that weather delay. Some of the big guys had to tee off early on Saturday morning and then play a second round, so we saw a little bit of a weird dynamic there. So I expect to see scores a little bit lower this year, a little bit more bunched up at the top, kind of push the envelope a little bit more. Alrighty, getting into my predictions for the weekend. I've been really tempted to take Simon. He's kind of been letting me down a little bit lately. Not playing some events, not finishing great, but I think I am going to take Simon for this weekend in first place, followed up closely by Mr. Ricky Wysocki, and taking down third place, Calvin Heimberg. Got to throw him on the podium, of course. Hard to ignore Calvin at this point. My dark horse for this weekend, I'm gonna go with Andrew Fish. I think Andrew has a great kind of well-rounded game for this course. I think he can always you're always going to find Andrew in the fairway. Doesn't really matter what course. So give me Andrew Fish for my dark horse, with Simon, Ricky, and Calvin. On the FPO side, let me think who's gonna. I'm gonna go with Kristen. Surprise, surprise. I think Kristen's gonna win. In second place, give me Missy Gannon, and in third place, I'm gonna give Ella Hansen her second consecutive podium. My dark horse this weekend is going to be none other than Katie Tati. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I never really have. But she is she's a player from Estonia. She, I believe, is back over from Europe for a little bit. And I've kind of been I see her bounce around the leaderboards a little bit. She did just come off a 25th at DDO and a 10th in the European Pro Tour, as well as a couple of really good finishes in Europe. So I'm calling this her breakout event. But no, seriously, in Elite Series events, especially earlier this year, she's been sitting around that kind of top 15 mark. And so I kind of, I'm expecting, or I'm hoping we could see her kind of break into that top 10, top 5 area at one of these events. So why not the Des Moines Challenge? We saw a couple of weird finishes last year on the MPO side. Maybe the FPO side will take a little bit of a hint from that, and we'll see some newer players up toward the top on the FPO side this year. All right, well, that is going to be our, oh, no, it's not. We got to do power rankings. I forgot. There was, we had DDO, we got to update them. They didn't change a lot. Guys that might move around, guys like Ricky end up getting like 6th place, but they don't, it's not going to move a ton. FPO, I actually kept it completely the same. I have Kristen, Holland Hanley, Owens Goggins, Cat Merch, Paige Pierce. I didn't think Ella did enough to move up. Paige has the wins, and it's tough to kick her out of the top 5, but she didn't play. It's tough to move her up. So I'm a little bit conflicted. I think FPO is really hard to do the power rankings, but number 1 is for sure. It's got to be Kristen. Second place, Holland Hanley, then Owen, then Cat, then Paige. So MPO, also very clearly Calvin Heimberg at the top. He extended his Pro Tour points lead to 207. Just absolutely dominant this year. Continued his podium tear he's on. Second, Gannon Burr, really rough finish this weekend. He actually missed cash, but I don't think he's done enough to fall out of the second spot. Third, Isaac Robinson. Fourth, I have Eagle McMahon, but he's injured, so I don't really know where to put him, but I have Eagle. Fifth, Ricky. Sixth, Kyle Klein, who has missed some events. Seventh, Simon Lizotte. Eighth, James Proctor. 9, Ezra Aderhold, and 10, Anthony Barella. So we will see if they can shake those up this weekend. Maybe someone kind of sets themselves apart. Ezra has that opportunity being on that lead card. We'll see if he can move up spots in the power rankings, but that is for next week's episode. So thank you for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already, go give us a follow on Twitter. Pretty active on there during the events, as well as a follow on Instagram. That is SpreckandDG or SDG on those platforms. So if you want to check us out, that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, it's SpreckandDG at SpreckandDG on Twitter. Enjoy watching the event this weekend. It'll start on Friday. The first round is free on YouTube, but also you can get coverage on DGN for the rest of the weekend. Jomez and Ace Run Pro should have post-produced, as well as Gatekeeper. So yeah, tune in this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Spreck and Disc Golf.